well, we was on the Kiss tour, and Rod Smallwood had this thing in his head, which he had to have the whole band together every day. It was like in a goldfish bowl. Because I'd had previous experience touring with other bands, I used to say to Rod, if you try and push the band together all the time, they will get fed up with one another's company. You can't live, eat, breathe 24/7 with one person or four people. You will end up, you know, arguing. But he wanted the band, everywhere we went together, we all had to be together, and it was like he was worried in case one of us disappeared or whatever. And while we was on the Kiss tour, I had a few, not arguments, but I had a few discussions with Rod about if I wanted to go and do something. Like, I used to share rooms with Dave Lights, the lighting designer, Dave Beasley, great mate, and I love the crew, you know, Loopy on the drums and Steve the guitar tech, but me and Dave Lights were good friends, and Rod seemed to take it upon himself that he didn't like the idea of me being with one of the crew. It had to be the band, so he didn't like the way I used to think. And throughout the Kiss tour, we had this disagreement, which was, you've got to be with the band. And I said, look, Rod, I'd really like to travel one day. I'd really like to go and sit on the beach, or I'd really like to go and do this. But he really did try and keep the band together, which I don't blame him, because the way the band was taking off, he knew the band was going to be massive. So you can't blame someone for trying to hold on to everything in case one of them disappeared. So we had a few disagreements, and then when you're on tour, you always take your own personal. Well, them days it was the Walkman. You know, you always take your own kind of music, and I used to have a little thing to play in the hotel or whatever. And my love of music goes right across the board. You know, it can go from George Benson to the Eagles to, you know, Motorhead, Maiden, Whitesnake, UFO, everything. You know, we've met them all, we've played with them, and we all know one another. Rod had it in his head that, you know, you had to listen to be with Maiden. You had to be a certain mould. It was like obsessive, and the problem because of this got a bit worse each time. And then we had a long discussion in the hotel on the Kiss tour about the music that I listened to. So my only answer to that, the same as anybody, is that when you're on a tour with a heavy metal band and you're playing heavy metal every night and you're listening to Kiss playing heavy metal and Maiden playing heavy metal, when you go back to your hotel room and you might want to have a little drink or a shower, you just want to chill out and you just want to relax. It doesn't matter what music you listen to. But Rod seemed to take it upon himself that it was that kind of music. If I wanted to listen to the Eagles, or if I wanted to listen to the Little River Band or George Benson, he found it annoying, the fact that it could interfere with my contribution to Maiden. And then at the end of the day, it started creeping into the personality thing and it just slowly got worse. So when we came back from the Kiss tour, Rod said, you know, we need to have a little chat. So me and Steve went up to Rod Smallwood's office and we sat there, and he said, it's just, you know, you're not into the band 100%. And I said to him, well, I am. So he said, you're not into the band as much as what we'd like to see. So my question to him was, are you satisfied with the guitar playing? And he said, yes. And I said, and are you satisfied with the vocal contribution? And he said, yes, more than enough. So I said, so if the job's being done, what is my personal life got to do with it? What, you know, you're coming to my house, and you're telling me what I can listen to, what TV to watch. And he said, no, he said, if you're listening to different stuff like that, you can't be focused on Iron Maiden. So we disagreed, and that was it. And if the truth be known, I don't know whether or not he'll admit it, but 4 years later, in 1984, I was in America with Lionheart, the band that I got together after Maiden. We were in Los Angeles recording an album for CBS, and we went to a club on Sunset Boulevard called the Rainbow, which is a very famous club that everyone goes to. And Rod has a table there. It's his own table. And I was at the bar, and a girl came over and said, "There's a guy over here who wants to buy you a drink." And I went and sat with Rod 4 years later, and he said, "You were right." He said, "I tried to keep the band together so much that in the end they end up not wanting to talk to one another." And so now but the difference is now is that because they've got the money, they can afford to lead their separate lives because they've done it, they've made it. But in them days they hadn't made it. So it was just the fact that he wanted to keep everyone together, but trying to push people together, you end up pushing them apart. And he admitted it, and we shook hands and had a beer, and it was fine.